Welcome to the Wealthy and Healthy podcast, hosted by me, Beck Hibbard. This is the podcast where I share all of the juice around my story and how I went from being a broke and bankrupt single mum who had lost it all to rebuild my life in a few short years, creating a global six-figure business, all while remaining in my feminine flow and living a life of freedom. Now, in these episodes of this podcast, I will be teaching you how to build the life of your dreams whilst becoming the wealthiest and healthiest version of yourself. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Hey, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Like You Mean It. I am your host, Noelia, and I am really incredibly excited today, and I feel like I'm always excited for guests. However, this one's very, very special. It's my beautiful friend, longtime friend, incredible soul, incredible entrepreneur, Rebecca Jade, aka Beck. A few years ago, when Beck was first becoming an entrepreneur, she was a single mom to a 1-year-old little girl. She was going through a divorce that led her to becoming bankrupt, having her car and home repossessed. She was so broke to the point that her and her daughter were eating expired food in her pantry, waiting for the next payday to arrive, living week by week. Beck knew this wasn't the life that she wanted for her and her daughter, and she decided that enough was enough, and she was going to change her reality. Within a few short years, she was able to turn her situation around, and now Beck is a multi-six-figure money mindset coach that teaches women through her coaching and programs how to become financially independent and attract more money without hustling or working hard for it. Beck, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm like, you said you're excited. I'm excited to be here. Like to see you just in your area, like dominating this podcast. Oh, so grateful. So grateful to be here and honored that you asked me to be a guest.
Of course. I'm so excited. And I know there's going to be a lot of juice, a lot of gold, not only in your expertise and in talking all things money. And I'm sure that as soon as you heard this, dear listener, you're like, money, I must know it all. And you're going to get some incredible, incredible knowledge out of this. And I know there's a lot of power in your story as well. I have seen you transform literally before my eyes so much. Even just since we met, you have transformed so much. So I would love it if you could let us in on a little bit of your journey, what it's been like. You can start wherever you feel intuitively right to start, but tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to be and a little bit more about your magic.
Definitely. I love this because there is so many evolutions of my journey, and I feel like I've had so many deaths, so many rebirths, and you've very much seen them all. Being a close friend of mine, you've seen every every reality that I've stepped into emotionally, physically. You've been there, you've seen it. But I want to take our listeners back to kind of like the very beginning, what shaped me as a young adult. So my parents, they divorced when I was 11 years old, and I am one of 8 children. So I'm the second oldest of 8 kids. And my mum, she met a guy, and she fell in love with him, and he became my stepdad. And he was not sane, to say the least. He was a very physically abusive, emotionally abusive person. And so my childhood was very much about me fighting for what I believed was right. And I've always had a strong sense of character, especially when it comes to, the ones that I love. I will always stand up for them. So throughout high school, I was going through this battle at home, trying to stand up for what was right and protect my siblings while dealing with, an adult who was just completely unhinged. And then at school as well, I was dealing with mental health because of that. So at the age of 15, I actually dropped out of high school because it just becomes so much. The thought of, trying to finish school, trying to do assignments and tests and all of that created so many anxiety attacks for me. And so I literally dropped out of high school. And then by the age of 16, I was actually kicked out of home. I stood up to my stepdad so many times, and he didn't like that. He was a narcissist, and obviously narcissists don't like it when people are trying to stand up to them. So he kicked me out of home, and by the age of 16, I was living in a share house with complete strangers, 4 adults, and I was working at a sandwich shop every night, and then I was studying a diploma in beauty therapy during the days. And so that was my life. And, you know, I met a boy quite young, literally at the age of 16, and I fell in love really quickly, and I clung to him. He was kind of the only sense of security that I had in my life. And I moved in really quick and, you know, was in this like committed relationship from such a young age. And I was with this guy for 9 years. We ended up getting married. And this relationship, it wasn't perfect by any means. It wasn't even kind of right, but I didn't really have any adult in my life, you know, showing me what a good, healthy, loving relationship was. You know, my my parents didn't have a great relationship through their divorce, my mum and my stepdad, obviously. And so I played out this reality and this pattern that what I was going through in this relationship was normal. And in this relationship, there was like a lot of deceit. There was a lot of cheating and stuff like that. And so I just kind of sat bystander to it. And I was like, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And I stayed in this relationship. And I thought, you know, when he proposed, I was like, yes, like it's going to change. We're going to get married. We're going to buy the house. We're going to have the kids and life is going to be great. And everything's going to be better. And unfortunately it wasn't. You know, we did get married and we did have a little girl, and we did buy the house. We got in a whole heap of debt. And again, I didn't really know much about money. Money growing up, it was like something that you weren't allowed to talk about. So had no idea about money. So we got into a whole heap of debt, bought the house, bought the cars and all the personal loans, all the things. And then when my daughter was 11 months old, we pretty much separated. You know, there was more deceit, more cheating. And I just got to the point where I just couldn't go through with it anymore. You know, I got to that moment in my life where I was like, I was a child of a broken home, and I was a child growing up thinking that these patterns were normal, but this is not normal. And I do not want my daughter to witness this and live out this pattern and understand that, you know, having someone treat her like that is not normal. And so the relationship completely like ended. Enough was enough. And throughout that journey of divorce, it was my financial rock bottom. I was the most financially destitute person in society. I was so broke that I couldn't afford to pay the loans. I couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. And what resulted in that was bankruptcy. I filed for bankruptcy and the bank repossessed the house. The bank repossessed the cars. They froze my bank accounts. They took all the little money that I had, which they legally can do because you owe money. So they're going to do what they can to get that money back. So they froze everything and they took the little money that I had. And I literally was eating expired pasta, you know, from the pantry, waiting till payday because we didn't have anything. We literally had nothing. And that's when I decided, like, okay, this is my situation. Like, this is it. And at that point, I was building an online business in the network marketing profession, and that's how we met. And so I was like, I need to go all in on this business. Like, I need to go all in because my daughter, like this is not on her. Like, it's not okay for her to be raised by a broke and bankrupt single mom. Like that, she didn't ask for this, and she shouldn't be, you know, sitting witness to this. And I don't want to create some sort of normal pattern for her, you know. So I went all in, and not only did I go all in on building my business, but I also went all in about studying and learning about money, because money was the thing that I knew that I needed to get out of that situation. But at the same time, I had so much shame and guilt around going bankrupt and around being labeled the most destitute person in society. Like, and to put it into perspective, a lot of people think that bankruptcy is an easy option out. Like last month, we made $53,000 in January, but yet I still won't get approved for a loan. Like, even though I'm not bankrupt anymore, my bankruptcy ended, I think a year and a half ago, but I still won't get approved for a loan. So it's definitely not an easy way out. I won't get approved for a credit card or anything like that. There's a time that I have to, you know, kind of serve with that. So yeah, I did my research. I studied money. I learned about the shame and the guilt and the blockages that it created in my life. I learned about my childhood conditioning and actually understanding the patterns that I was playing out with money and how they came to my life, and, you know, healed and repaired that journey. And by doing that, I also decided that, okay, I was going to teach money as well, because I went from literally being bankrupt and like having absolutely nothing to having two businesses that do multi six figures. I'm like, I had something to teach people. And I kind of wish that I knew this when I was at my, rock bottom. I really wish that I had this understanding, because things might have been different, but that's okay. I get to be the person that goes through that journey. I get to the bottom and work my way up and be like, okay, you don't have to go to the bottom, because I'm here to show you a different way.
Yeah. Amazing. Incredible. Like, so much to unpack. And again, you guys, I have witnessed Beck literally for half of that transformation. So we actually met probably like online. We probably met like a week before your relationship broke down. A week to a month before your marriage ended. And I'm pretty sure we physically met the day after, or like a couple days after, or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, wildly different. Like, you have just taken your life, and like you said, that pivotal moment where you're like, my daughter does not deserve this. Like, it has been an honor to literally witness you in all of this, and all in the depths of it, and going through it and coming through it, and the heights that you are at now and where you're going and all of it. And I honor you so much. And in saying that, people, when you hear stories like that, you think, man, this person was not set up to win. Like, there's nothing in your background that would have hinted that you would be where you are today. There was nothing that was like, oh, like, no, she's got a rich uncle, or, like, oh, well, she's got this going for her. So did you know at all? Did you intuitively in any way, shape, or form know, like, back when you were in high school or anything like that, did you ever have a feeling like, my life's going to be more, or I'm going to reach more? Or did that come, a little bit later, when you perhaps saw a light that hadn't been shining before?
Yeah. Honestly, no. It's funny because I think about who I used to be and I kind of disassociate from that person, if that makes sense. Like, I was literally having this conversation with my partner the other day, and we were talking about how, like, I just don't associate with the past version of me that was like married and had the white picket fence lifestyle, because back then I was so comfortable. When I was married, I was like totally different. I looked completely different. I was really comfortable. I had a 9 to 5. I worked my 40 hours a week. I did not get out of my comfort zone. I didn't know self-development. I didn't do anything. I was just like, I'd go to work. I'd drop my daughter off to daycare. I'd go to work. I'd pick her up. I'd drive home. And I would sit in front of the TV until like 10 o'clock at night, just watching shows. And then same thing. So at that point in my life, no, I didn't. But at the same time, there was almost like in the back of my head, there was this question of like, surely life is meant to be more than this. There was like this tiny little question, and it would come up from time to time where it's like, surely life's meant to be more than this. Like, surely we're not just meant to be walking on this earth, like literally going to work, and then that's it. Like, surely there's got to be more. But at the same time, more, I didn't know how to get it. What did more look like? What was it? How do you get that? So it's kind of like I just, suppressed it. More's not meant for you. Like, you're doing great. And I would openly say to my bosses, like at my 9 to 5, I was like, I'm going to be here till I'm 60. Like, I'm going to be that employee that is like here till they're 60. Like, I love my job. I love being an employee. And so I didn't know that I was meant for more until I went through this like divorce and kind of everything crumbled. And in saying that, I didn't kind of openly step into more. Like, I was made redundant. So at this 9 to 5, I was made redundant. And then within 12 months in my second job, so I got another job, and then I was made redundant again. So I lost 2 jobs in the space of 12 months, whilst going through a divorce, whilst going through all of these things. And I was like, okay, something has to give. And then I got into the world of self-development. And then I started reading books. And then I watched like a Netflix special on Tony Robbins. It's still there. And I watched that and I was like, what are all these people? Like, all these people are in this room hyped up and they're talking about like their businesses. And I'm like, but what if that could be me? What if I could have a business? What if I could do this? And the what ifs were positively geared. What if? And I've always been, like I said, I've always been that fighter. And it was like, okay, this is the situation that I'm in, and that's okay, but I'm not going to sit victim to this situation. I'm not going to be like, poor pity me. This is it. This is it for me. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to rebuild, because I very much lost everything. And so I've always said, you're going to rebuild, but you're going to rebuild better. And that I 100% did.
I love that so much. And thank you so much for taking us to the depths of that. Because I know everybody's different. And, you know, people might see you on social media right now killing it. Literally 53K in January. Congrats, by the way. Celebrate you and your team hardcore. And, you know, people might see that and just think, oh, you might have had it easy, or you've always known that this is what you were going to be, and things like that. And it's like, what I see through your story that you just shared is you've always had choices. Every step of the way, you've had choices. And I know for a fact that there were questions in your minds that were a bit dark throughout your journey. And in there, you still had a choice. And you really have always chosen to just keep moving forward, like one step at a time, like whether you knew where that was going to take you or not. And I love that you didn't necessarily know what was possible. You didn't know about the world of personal development. You didn't know what the how or the, looked like. And yet you just kept making a choice. And I love that, because it's so important. Like, everybody, no matter where you are in your journey, what you do literally this afternoon or after you listen to this or tomorrow is a choice. And so having sort of that faith, or even like being able to have that in the back of your mind, like, there's got to be more, right? Like, leaning into that curiosity. And I love that your ifs were possible ifs, because I'm sure that we're really good at the what if everything crumbles? What if everything goes wrong? And there is an opposite to that. And it's, what if everything goes right? What if things work out? What if I get myself out of this hole? What if, the money can come easily without working incredibly hard for it, which I'm sure we'll touch on. And I love that you viewed that aspect of it and we're always making a choice. And I think that's really powerful. So incredible. And I would love to take us to that point where you started to really be like study money and put things into practice. And specifically, I remembered your coffee and how you treated yourself to gas station or service station coffee. And I want you to touch in on that, because I believe that was roughly the start of when you actually put things into practice. So what did that look like for you? We obviously know like the rock bottom that you were at, and then you started implementing. What did that beginning implementation look like?
Yes, definitely. So I first started to learn about money and how to, first of all, handle it. That was super important. And how to move it around, because at that point I'd gone bankrupt. I was starting, a little online business in the network marketing profession. And I was probably clocking about $1,000 a month in that business in the beginning. And then I was on government support. So I was getting about $500 a week from government support. So really just trying to stretch everything and pay, bills. I had my own rental because my house got repossessed. I had to move into a little 2-bedroom house, and, I'm paying kindy for my daughter or daycare for my daughter and food. And so I've got this money coming in, and I'm trying to figure out how to do things differently, how to pay things on time, how to delegate. And I learned this concept that you should always pay yourself first. Because when you pay yourself first, essentially you're setting the tone energetically, because money is energy. So money holds an energy and it vibrates at a certain frequency. So how you treat money is how it's going to come back to you. How you speak about money, again, is how it's going to come back to you. How, whether you think it's less or it's great, all these things affect how you receive money and how you hold money. And so for me, I understood, okay, I have to do things differently. So I'm going to learn this new concept of, paying myself first, because previously I would pay bills first. Everyone else would get paid. The loans, the cards, everything would get paid. And then I would have this tiny bit of money left, and it would create resentment because I never got to do the things that I wanted to do. And it felt like I was on this hamster wheel of life working, but it's like, working for what? I'm just working to pay bills, and this is not fun. And the holiday that I really want to go on, I can't go on. So I have to think of, a different holiday, or I want to get my nails done or I can't get them done. So that was my reality before, when I did have a good income coming in. And so I knew that I wanted to do things differently. So I started this concept of, okay, paying myself first, right? And so I would put money aside. And so I want to preface this too. I wasn't oblivious to my outgoings. I wasn't oblivious to my expenses. I got clear on like how much everything was costing me every single week. And then from there, I would delegate differently. So how it would work is I would pay myself first, like a little allowance each week just to spend money on myself, not on my daughter, not on any bills, but like literally just myself. And then I would put a little bit of money aside into my savings, right? And I would save. Savings needs to be purposeful. Okay, so I want to preface this as well. If you're saving for a rainy day, you're going to get rainy days because money's energy. So whatever you're putting out is going to come back, like I said. So stop saving for raining days. Like start saving, and stop saving just to save for your ego. There's a lot of us that save, and I very much was that person where I'd have money in the account just because I like to look at it, because my ego loved it. Right? It just loved having money there, and it was so unpurposeful. So now everything's like a very much purposeful. Do I want a new car? Cool. Put money into that and call it my car account. Do I want to upgrade my apartment? Awesome. Put money into that. Say apartment. Is it a holiday? Right? You get the gist. So money needs a purpose. And so I come across this and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put money aside for spending, and I'm going to put money aside for stacking. And at that point, I wanted to, and I call savings stacking. So if I interchange the words, not to confuse anyone, but I put money into my stacking so that I could invest. I was like, I'm going to invest in the coach. I'm going to like invest into the programs. I'm going to buy some books. So that was where my money was going at that point. And so all I had in my spending account each week was literally, no joke, $2. $2. That was all I could afford to put into my spending account. And so every week I co-parent with my daughter's dad. So every week I would have to pick up my daughter from her dad's house, and it was about a 4-hour round trip. It was a very long commute. We live, opposite ends. And so what I would do is I would wake up super early, and instead of, making myself like an instant coffee with like the coffee and the hot water, I would go and I would drive to 7-Eleven, which is the local service station, and I would buy myself a medium long black or Americano, and I would sit in that traffic sipping on my hot coffee. And I can't even tell you how wealthy I would feel knowing that I got to invest into and I say quote unquote, air quotations, barista made, but we know 7-Eleven coffees aren't barista made. But it was the next upgrade. It felt like a barista was making my coffee, even though it was a coffee machine. But I would feel so energetically charged, and every sip was so intentional. It wasn't me just smashing back a coffee trying to get on my day. It was like, this is amazing. It's has the plastic cup and the lid. And I would feel like I was in one of those movies where I'm driving in my car, sipping my coffee, listening to an Audible book. And that $2 was the best investment I could have made into myself. And it was literally $2. But then what happened is, because I was vibrating in a certain energy, I would be attracting clients into my business. I would jump on social media and I would sell my offers, or I would speak into something, and the power behind my words was so different. The frequency I was vibrating out from that $2 coffee, and people would be magnetized to what I was saying, and they would want to know more, and they would want to work with me. And from there, my business grew and grew and grew, and then more money come in. And then from there, I got to expand how much I would give myself, the allowance. And then eventually, I was going out to a restaurant once a week instead of it was the coffee and the restaurant. And then from there, it was oh my gosh, this week I could go buy a new dress, or I could go get my nails done, go get my lashes done. And so, fast forward, I literally have this large Dunkin' Donuts cup of coffee and cold brew today. And money's in the account, and we don't even check, it's just money's there. What coffee do you want? It's not even a question. Where do we want to go? Starbucks was across the road. We hadn't had Dunkin' Donuts before. I know because it's American, right? But us little Aussies, we're in Singapore at the moment, traveling the world, my partner and we hadn't had Dunkin' Donuts. So I'm I see on social media they have good coffee. Let's try it instead of Starbucks. So we go in there and it was great. But that's the evolution. It started off with something small, and people think that with money you have to have it all, or you have to have a lot to make something. You don't. Start with what you have, where you are. Start where you are. And if that means, if you're the person that literally has a few dollars at the end of each week, put that into your account and be intentional. What do you want to get? Is it the coffee? If it is the coffee, get the coffee or spend time, go to the cafe, take a book, get your latte, sit down, read, journal, right? Listen to a podcast, but be super intentional with that money, because I promise you, money holds a frequency. It holds a frequency. And when you appreciate it, when you're so grateful for it and what it's providing for you, even if it's a little, that's where it compounds. And I promise you that dollar is going to turn into 10,000, 100,000, a million over time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys. I mean, I think we could just end the podcast right there. Like gold just in that right there is incredible. And again, I want to really hammer this, you guys. I've seen this transformation. I remember the stories on Instagram of this freaking coffee, of this $2 coffee. She would proudly post it in her Instagram stories. And it was a vibe. It was literally a vibe, that energy that she's talking about, for sure. Beck, like, I remember like it was yesterday. Like, you were so grateful for that. And it's so powerful to hear. Start where you are now. Start where you are now. And $2, man. What's $5? What's $10? And something that I'm sure you encounter, and was something I thought of when you were talking about paying yourself first. I'm assuming that a big thing that comes up is people not feeling like worthy, or like they feel like that's wrong. Does that come up a lot? Do you hear that a lot, through your clients? Like, oh my gosh, pay myself first? No, what about this stuff that I need to quote unquote survive? The rent, I have to, what do you mean put this first? You know what I mean? Like, even though you have just literally talked into the fact that it can be as little as $2, do you still find that people struggle with that because of maybe like a worthiness piece?
Yes, 100%. 100%. And this often comes from childhood. Like, how many of you listening to this right now heard someone like your mum or your dad, someone close to you that raised you, say to you, buy what you need, not what you want, right? So many of us were raised to only get what you need, not what you want, or don't get too much because it's greedy. Rich people are greedy. So when we go to spend money on ourselves, and if it's a want, we create shame and guilt, because it's like, I don't need that. I don't need the coffee. I don't need to get my nails done. I don't need to buy the new dress. I don't need the new handbag. I don't need the holiday. I want it. And because I want it, I'm not allowed to have it. And so a lot of my work comes from reprogramming women, especially. And it's funny because men don't have this adage. It's so funny, the dynamic. And that comes back to like how we were raised in past paradigms, right? Because the men brought in the money back previously. Obviously today's changed, but also our mindset for women has not caught up with that. And so that's where a lot of my work comes in. But the men went and got the money, so therefore they could spend it on whatever, because it was quote unquote theirs. The woman was at home raising kids, and so the money wasn't hers. So when she would go to spend it, she would kind of have to tell him where she was spending it, ask her if it's okay if she could spend it on this. The man, if he wanted to go buy a new Porsche, he would go buy a new Porsche. Like, he didn't give a two hoots, right? So it was very different paradigm. Whereas today, a lot of us females are independent, we're running our business, but yet we still feel like we have to ask someone's permission to spend our own money. And that comes from the past paradigm. Seeing your mum, ask your dad, can she use this money to go get this? Or she wants to go get a face cream and he's saying, no, it's too much. You can't do that. So a lot of my work is around that reprogramming, because we take on our money beliefs from childhood. When we are born into this world, we are completely perfect. There's no impressions on us. Like, we are perfect. We don't have opinions. Like, we don't know anything. We don't even know right from wrong. But what happens is the people that raise us, and again, I'll preface it, they're doing the best with what they know at the time. So, no hate to the ones that raise us. We love them. We adore them. But that's where you no longer get to be a victim to your childhood, and you get to change that. But your parents are raising you, and they're saying it's wrong to spend for your wants. It's right to spend for your needs. And now you're carrying out that paradigm. It's wrong as a woman to go out and spend her husband's money and not tell him. It's right, she needs to ask. So we're creating this wrong, right. The world's evolving. Women are becoming independent with money, but we still have that blueprint. We still have that childhood programming. That's where we have to go and do the money mindset work to work on that. And we have to go back in time and heal that. And once we realize that the beliefs that we carry around money aren't actually ours, you can take a step back and go, okay, I'm going to reprogram that, and I'm going to make these new beliefs mine, and I'm going to change my reality. Because in order to change your reality, in order to remove the shame, the guilt, you have to change your belief. And with money, that's the hardest part. It's like, money, you don't have to work hard to get money, right? There is no correlation between working hard and money. Money is an energy. It's a frequency. And so you working hard, you working longer has nothing got to do with money. And that's such an interesting paradigm on its own. People wig out over that. They're like, what? Right. And so in order to, again, change that, you've got to go back to childhood. You've got to change that belief. Who told you that you had to work hard? Is it ultimately true? Where can you find evidence in this society that you don't have to work harder, you don't have to work longer? And so once you change that and find new evidence, you can build a new belief system around that. So a lot of my work is, it's not hard work, but the hardest part is going back to childhood, reprogramming that, looking at that, and then from there, creating new beliefs, a new reality.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I have no doubt that so many people had an aha moment just now, because I'm sure you guys have heard things like money doesn't grow on trees, and yeah, you have to work hard for your money. And I was definitely in that sort of environment. And at the same time, like you said, everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have. So past generations, as much as we say, this is your programming and society and your environment and your family, like everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. But what you have right now, because you're literally listening to this right now, is an insight that allows you to take responsibility and change the outcome. And like Beck said, instead of being the victim, you now get to take control and be at cause instead of being at effect. So this is a resource that you get. And because you have this resource, you can do something different about it. So I love that you said that. It's absolutely true. Like majority of every single pattern that plays out. And you said blueprint, and you're talking to money blueprint. So money blueprint would be the patterns, like is that correct? The patterns and the beliefs?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So their blueprint is their belief. So the belief creates the pattern, and the pattern creates the reality.
And this applies to literally every area of
everything.
life.
Everything.
When you realize this, it is the most mind-blowing concept ever. It could literally be like you had an ice cream cone and you were 3 years old and you were so excited because you found, you put away your toys and your parents gave you $1 and you bought your ice cream, and then suddenly this mean kid from around the corner smacked your ice cream off your cone and said, don't ever get an ice cream again. And suddenly you have made patterns in your life of a belief that you can't have nice things, that you're not worthy of nice things, or that, anytime you work hard or you do something to get money, for example, it's going to go, like, it's going to be thrown back in your face, just like this ice cream was. And it could be a freaking ice cream cone. Like, that is why this work is so important.
And another thing with what you said, literally, you could associate the meaning that in order to receive money, you have to do something, right? Like you cleaned the room, you got your $1 to buy the ice cream. There's a belief right there.
Abso-freaking-lutely. And that's why I love that I go for walks and there's just money on the ground, because I'm like, thanks, universe. I see you. I'm taking it. Thank you. But you're absolutely right. Everything is a belief. Everything is a belief. And if you believe that you don't have to work hard for your money, then you're allowing the possibility of that into your reality. And if you believe that you do have to work really hard for your money, you're allowing that possibility into your reality. And let me tell you, and I'm sure you know, Beck, as well, like there are so many people out there, entrepreneurs, people making hundreds of millions of dollars, who will tell you to work harder, who will tell you that that's what they do. You got to talk to more people. You got to work harder. You got to do this. You got to do that. And it has absolutely worked for them because that's their core belief. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, if you vibe with me, if you're in my community, if you found yourself here, it's for the reason that that is not necessarily what you desire. You don't necessarily desire to do 12-hour plus days every single day, and because you can only work hard to get money. Perhaps you do 12-hour days because you're so inspired by the work that you do and you're incredibly lit up and you have that time freedom, and that's amazing. And I wonder if you would allow the possibility of you getting to go on holiday and money still flowing to you, and you getting to be in that sort of feminine energy and money still flows to you, and you never, ever, ever feeling like you have to work hard and yet money still flows to you. So that's what I love about you, Beck, and obviously the work that you do, because it's so powerful and it's not what we see most often. It is not what society puts on a pedestal more often. It's not what society throws in our face more often. It's that other, stories of the hard work and the do more, do more, do more. And so I love that you're really bringing that incredible paradigm to life through your work.
Thank you. 100%. And like you said, is it because you want to? Because everything, it's either a belief that you're playing out or it's a choice. And so again, though, that choice, if you lean into the belief and you continue to let that belief rule your life, well, that's still a choice. So it's like, yes, we can work 12-hour days. I know you and I are very passionate about what we do, very passionate. And if there is ever a day or a time where we feel like sitting in front of the laptop for 12 hours, it's because it's a choice. It's because an I get to, not because an I have to. And so that's what money gets to reflect to you. You don't have to. We live in an incredible time in the world where you can literally make money within a few hours a day. Like for me, and I used to be that hustler. Like you've seen it firsthand, and you've seen it. You've seen it.
Yes.
And I would say to you, like, you got to work hard for it. You got to do a lot. Like you were witness to it. And I changed that belief system by finding different evidence in society of women working less and making more money. And I used to do 70-hour weeks, when I first was out in business for the first few years, because I really thought that was the requirement for success and money. I thought that's what I had to do in order to, make it, in order to get out of my financial situation. And it wasn't until I changed my belief and I did the work that I teach now, because again, I teach this, but it wasn't until I rewrote that belief, I found other women doing it differently. And I was like, but what if this is a possibility for me? What if this could be true for me? And now, my partner, he's retired. I retired him, so he works for the company, which is really cool. And we both work like 2 hours a day, maybe 4 hours. The other day we did a 6-hour day on a new offer, and it was funny. We were just like, what is this? 6 hours? Like, it felt like we were working 12 hours. It was so dramatic. We're like, what is this hard work? But we loved it. We were so immersed and glued to the laptops, and we were, at a cafe working together. But, we're traveling the world. We're working a few hour days, and we had a $53,000 month last month. And that's just proof. So if anyone's out here, battling with this old paradigm, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to. I get to be proof again. Like I get to be some proof for you that doesn't have to be a reality for you. You could find something where you work less and you make more money. That 100% is possible. But again, you have to make the choice to find the vehicle. You have to make the choice to find the teachings and the trainings and tap into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that you touched upon all of that. And it's so true. Like I've seen that evolution from the work hard. I've heard it. I mean, Beck mentored me, you guys, in our previous business. And it was very much like, and that brought you some success, but it didn't necessarily bring you happiness. It didn't necessarily bring you time freedom. And it didn't necessarily bring you what you value so much, which is that time with your daughter. And I remember you like Saturdays and everything, like you just, you even, I think at one point bought a coffee machine because you're like, I can't even go out for coffee. I have to be in my house working. And then suddenly like, I'm so, it's evolution, it's growth. You're like, fuck the coffee machine. Like, I'm going out for my damn coffee because it brought you so much joy and it elevated your frequency and your vibration so much. And I love that. And I love that I got to really witness that. And something that I just want to point out from, entrepreneurial perspective, especially, is just pivoting and changing is okay. And that's what I love about you, is that you've never said like, you've never pretended that wasn't part of your past. You never pretended that you didn't talk about and mentor people and literally tell people work harder. Like you say, like, yes, that was me. And I used to say that. And now I'm saying pretty much the total opposite, and it's totally working, So I really value that so much, because a lot of people are afraid of the growth and the change and evolution, and how one day you might be operating from one belief and one perspective and one mindset. And then suddenly you find that in a few months, you're doing the complete opposite. And however, that's the beauty, that's life, right? Like that's
evolution.
That's honoring you in your journey. So I love
And
that. And of course,
we're meant to grow. We are so meant to grow. And I think this paradigm, especially in entrepreneurship, and maybe you are someone in business, like this thought that you have to stay at the same thing, or you have to be known for the one thing for the rest of time. You can grow and you can evolve. Like we were both in health and wellness. We both had health and wellness businesses, and we've both grown and evolved from that and found other things that we are passionate about, things that we can change people's lives and perspectives on. And that's okay, because who are you to stay in a box? Like literally as humans, we grow until we die. Like we physically grow until we die. And that's the same with our evolution. That's the same with our mindset. That's the same with our learnings. Like we're meant to grow until we die, and you can change, and that's perfect. And that's totally fine.
I love that. And that really does apply to everyone in every aspect. Like, you know, you might be really comfortable in that little box that you're a part of, and you know that you want to grow and you want to evolve. The people around you might, have cast their judgments, etc. Doesn't matter. Like, it is your birthright to grow and to continue to find what really lights you up and what's really in alignment with you. And that's what I love. Again, like throwing out the coffee machine and being like, I just bought this coffee machine, and like I'm throwing that ish out because what lights me up is going down the street and walking, in the sunshine to get my coffee. So I really love that, and I honor that. And there's something I want to touch on before I get into a couple more of your taboo, like quote unquote taboo, like, just not the norm. Like the things you teach are not necessarily what you often hear, and that's the power in them. And that's what I love. So we'll get into a couple of those in a moment. Something that has come up a few times in our conversation is shame. And it has been a wildly huge theme. I've recorded like solo podcast episodes on it. I've posted about it. And I just want to talk into that in the aspect of money. And I know that you speak into that with your journey and the bankruptcy and things like that, and having shame. And then we've talked about it in the respect of people feeling like paying themselves. There was shame. And from a vulnerable perspective, I will share that was a huge, up until very recently, a huge block of mine, huge, because I felt so ashamed at how I had spent money in the past and how I had literally invested thousands in courses or in things that I didn't take advantage of, that I didn't even go to, or that I, like the where the money was going, and it was going, and I felt so ashamed that I didn't have more to show for it. And it's only just until like recently that I've been like, oh my goodness, I accept this. I accept all parts of me. I accept that this was my journey to be here, because when you are ashamed of something, you're using so much energy to try and hide that. You're using so much energy to try and make sure that nobody finds out about this thing that you're so ashamed about. And so if you could just quickly talk into shame and how it really is such a common theme, I'm sure, with money, and how people are ashamed, and how, even from your perspective, like taking the story that was your bankruptcy and the shame around that financial rock bottom to literally being an incredible financial, like money coach, like that's what you teach. So if you can just quickly talk into shame and how that plays a role.
Definitely. So the way that I view money is I view it in a very much like a visual way. I'm a visual person. So I view money because money is energy and it's a currency and it's meant to be circulated. So I view and I envision all of us as having our own money streams. So having literally like a stream, like imagine you're at the bottom of this stream and you've got your buckets because you need the water to like fuel your village. Okay. And so this stream is like money coming through it. It's like water running in your river. Now, when you have limiting beliefs, self-doubt, shame, and guilt, these act as boulders and they get put in your money river. And what happens is if you have too many boulders, eventually your river dries up. Eventually the water can't get to you and you can't feed your town. And that's what happens. The money drives up and we end up getting behind on our bills. We end up not being able to buy the food that we want. We end up not being able to send our kids to the schools that we want to send. It happens. So this is what I view. So shame is created in so many different aspects. It could be created from, again, childhood. Like you said, someone said something to you and that's played out into your reality. A lot of us have a lot of shame around the way that we've spent and handled money. Now, again, a lot of us weren't raised, like they're not teaching money in schools. They're not teaching you how to pay taxes. They're not teaching you how to invest. They're not teaching you about retirement funds. So what happens is kind of when we get into this big world, we can often get in a lot of debt, a lot of credit card debt, because we think it's like free money and we can sign up to the car and, overstretch ourselves. And we're borrowing money from people and we know that we can't pay it back and we're just getting further behind, and it creates shame, 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 guilt, guilt, guilt. And it's just more boulders, more boulders, more boulders. So that's what happens. And so the more that you have shame in your river, the more you're going to stop the money from coming to you. Because what happens is as much as we consciously want money, okay, and this happened to me, and I'll use myself as the example. when I went bankrupt, there was so much shame and guilt that was created. So much. I can't even tell you, like, firsthand, like, I didn't want to talk about it on social media. I didn't want to say anything. Even when I started dating again, the thought of telling someone like my new boyfriend that I was bankrupt was like, fuck, what is he going to think of me? Like, it's like literally like, what is he going to think of me? Is he going to not want to be with me because I'm kind of damaged goods? I have this black, cross on my name. If you search up my credit score, it's like 0. And so there was so much shame and guilt around that. And so what happened with money is I'm out here consciously saying, yes, like I want more money. I want the business that gets to 6 figures. I want X amount of clients. I want this bonus. I want to hit this promotion. But subconsciously, there's that much shame. Subconsciously, I'm repelling it because subconsciously I'm saying, the last time you got so much money back, look what happened. You effed it up. You completely screwed it up. You're just going to do the exact same thing again. And what if you get yourself in a way worse position than bankruptcy? What if you end up sleeping out of your car with your daughter? And then that's what happens. So if you don't clear up the shame and the guilt, and if you don't actually repair it, go back in time, and you can do this via timeline therapy. You can do this with literally, I teach a forgiveness letter. Like in my signature money program, I teach a forgiveness letter. I have a whole module on it where you sit down and you write a letter to yourself and you forgive yourself. You list out all the things that you quote unquote did wrong with money, the shame, the guilt, you write it out. And then you say, you know what? I love you and I am sorry and I forgive you. And you understand that the person you are now is very different to the person you were back then. So you're going to handle it differently now. You're going to learn about money. You're going to do things differently. And then what happens is you get that letter, you rip it up into tiny pieces, you put it in a bag, you take it outside and you put it in your outside bin and you energetically let go of that shame and guilt. And you might need to do this letter 10 times. You may need to do it once and you're good. You may need to do it 100 times because you don't know what's going to come up, right? You could say receive $1,000 and you're good. There's no shame or guilt. But someone could give you $10,000 and you're like, oh, shit. Oh, I'm going to self-sabotage this. Oh, remember that time when I got in that car loan for $10K and I didn't pay it? And oh, no. So you may need to do this a few times over. But this is the hard work of like money. And again, air quotations, this is the hard work of it. You got to forgive yourself because if you don't remove those boulders, they will dry up your money stream. Your money stream will dry up. And that's where you're going to have no water for your little community. So you have to do this work. You have to go back in time, but you have to also understand that you were just doing the best with what you knew at the time. And there's a lot of us out there, we don't know a lot about money. That's okay. But you get to, again, make an active choice today to heal that, to fix that. And so that's where I used my shame and my guilt around bankruptcy. First of all, I owned it because I was like, you know what? If I'm out here, if I'm owning it, no one could ever say anything to me. No one could bring it up. No man, if I'm on a date, could be like, oh, I heard you're bankrupt. I'm just like, I'm like, this is my situation. This is what it is. Like, this is where I'm at. It's fine if you don't want to be a part of it. That's fine, right? So no one could say anything about it. But I'm out here owning it. I'm on social media. This is who I am. This is what I'm going through. But guess what? My current situation is not my final destination. Follow me, watch me. We're going to change it. And this is how I'm going to change it. And then I took people on a journey and I took people on the evolution and the growth. And that's where I stepped into the money mindset coach. And I was like, this is where I am. Come follow me. We're going to change it. We're going to change it. I don't know how, but we're going to change it. And I studied and I studied and I learned about money and I forgave and I removed the shame. Still to this day, 53K last month, that still brought up shame. That still brought up like, what do you have to show for it? Where is it the same thing as you? What do you have to show for it? Right? We're so obsessed with having materialistic things in this world. Sometimes we can't accept that the things that we're showing for it are memories and moments. It's time. Sometimes we're buying back time. We're hiring people. We're buying back time. But it's like, oh, you don't have anything physical to show for it. That's shame. That's guilt. And again, that's childhood conditioning. Because I guarantee if you look back at your childhood, there's someone along the line where you went to the dollar store and you brought all these little things and, you put them in your toy box a month later and your parents have gone to you, where's that $10 pocket money we gave you? What do you have to show for it? You're now like, oh, shit, I have nothing to show for it. So you associate money. You have to show something when you have money. So again, it's childhood conditioning, but you got to clear that up because if not, it will follow you around and it will haunt you. And that's where you create that subconscious reality where you're like, please don't give it to me. And that's when sometimes we have these income goals or we're manifesting money. I want to have 10K this month and it's not happening. It's not happening because subconsciously you're repelling it because you're afraid if you get it, you're going to do wrong by it again.
Guys, rewind this, listen to it so many times. This is so good. This is like such good, juicy, free content right now. And literally, she even spoke into this activity, like the forgiveness letter, like giving you gold that can change your life if you choose to implement, right? If you choose to receive this and take it in and actually do something about it, make a little change, make it, a new choice. So I love this so much. You obviously see me, like we're recording this on video too, but like those listeners, I'm literally just smiling ear to ear and like bouncing my head up and down like hardcore, like, yes, girl, keep going. This is so good. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing all that. That's fantastic and absolutely totally on point. And that's, owning the shame of that and really, like that and speaking into it more. I have felt so much more empowered than before. And it's exactly what you say. Like, no one can take it and use it against you. No one can take it and use it as a weapon because that's what you're so afraid of. You're afraid of, you're so ashamed of this thing that you're afraid of it coming to light. So if you incorporate it, you integrate it, you bring it into, this is what, sure, it's a thing, and you make it neutral almost, and then you just keep going. It's just, you've taken your power back and you're whole again, and it feels so incredible. So I'm so glad you spoke into that. Thank you so much. And quickly, budgeting, saving, debt. Those three topics, I love the way that you think about them. And the reason I say quickly is because I want people to find you after they listen to this and get the real tea, get the real juice. I know you have a membership. I know you have some incredible offers. So I want them to really tap into all your gold that way. However, budgeting, saving, and debt, those are three words that a lot of people say when it comes to money. Your perspective is slightly different than what's out there. So budgeting, what is your perspective on budgeting?
F budgeting. I swear like a trooper, but I won't because I don't even know if I'm allowed to swear on this, but I dropped a little bomb before. F budgeting. Literally. Like I just, here's why, right? Like I read a statistic the other day and it was like, yeah, you can save to become a millionaire. Like you can become a millionaire by saving, but it'll take you like 37 years. And to me, I'm like, why would I want to restrict my life for 37 years when I don't even know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow? Like for real. I don't want to live a mediocre life, walking around the grocery store, calculating my groceries because I've given myself a budget. And I've been there, you guys. I've been there. I've done that. I have done that. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want, that creates scarcity. Money is energy. So whatever you're putting out, you're receiving back. So I don't believe in budgeting because money is a unlimited resource. Only 4% of the world's dollar is actually printed. Only 4%. Everything is numbers on a screen. Everything is numbers on a screen. Okay. And these numbers are just like unlimited. Absolutely unlimited. So I don't believe in budgeting because you're essentially capping the abundance. You're calculating it. You're saying, oh, a little bit has to go here and I can't have that and I can't want that. You can't tell me that doesn't create lack. You can't tell me that doesn't create scarcity. And if you're vibrating at an energetic frequency of lack and scarcity, you will get more of that because what you put out, you receive. That's a universal law. That's not just me saying it. It is a universal, tried and tested law. What you put out, you receive energetically. So if you are looking at your dollars and you are just like, scraping things by, trying to save for ego or trying to save for your rainy day, you're going to get that because you're putting out there. Instead of budgeting, I look at my expenses and I look at my life based on who I am becoming. So I ask myself, now I'm not privy, I'm not oblivious. I'm all over my money. I have money tracking sheets. I like sell these, but I have tracking sheets. So I'm tracking things. I also have a company. So like I actually have to track my accountants every quarter. They know my numbers. They know where everything's going. So I literally have to, but I'm never saying I'm going to cancel my Netflix subscription because, I can't afford it, or I'm going to cut back on eating out. I'm going to cut back my coffee. Those are things that make me feel good. But I will cancel something if it's not in alignment with who I'm becoming. And there's a lot of us right now. And if you feel like, you're not sure where your money's going, look at your subscriptions. Look at your subscriptions on your app store. What do you subscribe to? Is that in alignment with who you want to become? Are you the person that wants to, have 10K months? Are you the person that wants to make $1,000 a week? Ask yourself, just imagine if you were that person, are you going to be subscribing to that? Are you going out on the weekends and partying and drinking and all the things? Is that next version of you, is that what they do? If it is, more power to you. Amen. Do that with confidence. Do that thing with confidence and remove the shame and the guilt. But if it's not, make adjustments. Instead of the partying, instead of the drinking, what are they doing instead? Are they, instead of that, going to a really nice restaurant, taking a book, journal, having really deep conversations with people they love, right? Around like really good food. What is that for you? So that's what I believe instead of budgeting. I don't believe in cutting back. I believe you should look at what you're spending your money on. Is it in alignment with who I am? If it is, freaking fantastic. Now move forward. Move forward, that more money is going to come back to you. If it's not, make adjustments. That's okay. We grow, we evolve. But don't cut back on things just because your 3D reality is showing you that right now things might be tight. And I've been in that situation in life where things were tight. Trust me, I've been there. But things could change in the blink of an instant. Like 1 minute from now, if you're a business owner, 1 minute from now, and I say this to myself personally, and my partner says this to me all the time because I'm human and I have those moments of weakness where I'm selling something and it's not selling and I'm like freaking out. And we say 1 minute from now, 10 people could buy. 10 people could see the thing that you've been selling and literally go, okay, now's the moment. 10 people could, or click. And what's 10 people to how many of the world's population? Like seriously, that's like a tiny percentage. 10 people could pay in full for your offer. And you could literally have a $10,000 day or a $10,000 minute. That is available to you if you believe it to be, right? So lean into that reality instead of focusing on what you don't have, because what you focus on expands. So if you're sitting here going, I don't have this, I don't have that, you're going to get more of that, right? Your money river is going to drive up. Instead, if you sit here and go, okay, what if 10 people purchased in a minute from now? How freaking cool would that feel? How amazing would that feel? What would I do? Where would I spend that money? And start to get excited, start to imagine. Go shopping, like window shop. You don't have to spend the money. Go walk into whatever store you want. Feel the thing. Look at it. Go look at the car that you're wanting to buy. Get excited because that is a possibility. That is a reality that you could get behind that will bring you more money. So I don't believe in cutting back. Instead, I believe in expansion. And if there's things that I want, I go, how can I get it? Like, how can I get it? Who do I need to become in order to get it? Because again, money's energy. So it's about asking yourself, okay, if I'm the person, and for example, yesterday, like I've wanted to buy a Chanel bag for like 10 years. It's like, it's been my thing. And, I've worked through the designer and I've gotten a few designer bags, but Chanel is just like a whole new level. And it was like yesterday I went into Chanel and I grabbed the bag, I put it on, I wore it, and I was like, okay, I'm not ready yet. But who would I need to become if I was the woman that would walk around a shopping mall with her white Chanel handbag? Who would I need to become? What would I need to do? How do I show up in business? And then that's positively geared questions. It's not, oh, I don't have it. I'm annoyed. I'm not ready for it yet. This, that. It's like, but what if I was? Who would I be? How does she show up? And you see the energy and how I'm talking? It's so different to the cut back. Oh, but if I cut back on this, then I could maybe get it. Or what if I got a loan, but then I would be tied into X amount of debt for this long? Like, could I do that? Instead, I'm like, but what if I could spend $8,000 in cash on this bag, walk in there, get the sparkling water, have this experience? Like, who would I become? It's so much more magnetic, so much more sexy. So that's why I'm so against like budgeting and cutting back. Instead, expand. Who would I become? What would I need to do? Who do I need to be?
Yeah. And just feel into the energy of that if you're listening right now. Feel into the energy of that because that is so different. Like you just speaking, like I literally feel my energy like lifting and getting so excited. Like Chanel bags not my thing. Not yet. Maybe someday. However, like I'm excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and even asking yourself, like, who do I need to become? And giving yourself the opportunity to try it on and be, to claim the worthiness too. Like you're worthy of having the bag. You're worthy of holding it. You're worthy of having it on your body, but just being in that energy and like, oh my gosh, this is it. It's real. It's here. Oh my, like, who do I have to become? Or, who do I get to become is so exciting. And it's so,
and that
like
with the worthy piece too. So I shop at Gucci, right? And I have a Gucci rep. And so I shop at Gucci and I was having a conversation recently when I was in Gucci with my Gucci rep. And I was saying to him, I asked him the question, I was like, how do you know when someone's going to buy and how do you know when they're not going to buy? And he said, Beck, he goes, the other day I had a gentleman come in here and he goes, first of all, he goes, there's like this notion that designer people judge. And he goes, we don't judge. He's like, we don't judge. And here's the reason why. He goes, the other day, I had a gentleman come in here and he was wearing thongs. He was wearing jeans with rips and holes in them. He was wearing an old polo shirt. And he goes, he comes in here and he spends $30,000 like that. And he goes, the guy, like, he just looked like he didn't have the money. He goes, but I know better to judge. And he goes, and then you'll have people come in here dressed to the nines, but they won't touch a single thing on the shelf. And they'll say things to their kids, or they'll say things to the people that they're at, don't touch that. If you break it, we can't afford it. And he goes, do you know what the difference is? You can always tell if someone feels worthy for the designer. Because if they feel worthy, they go in, they pick up, even if they're not intentionally spending, but if they feel worthy, they go in the store, they pick up the thing, they hold it, they feel it, they try it on, they wear it, they ask questions. What material is this? You know, is there a warranty? He goes, that's how you can tell. He's like, the dude in the jeans coming here is picking up this, putting that down. He was asking questions. He was like, yep, I want that, that, and that. He goes, but then you have people that are dressed to the nines, but they come in here and they don't feel worthy to touch the thing. Whether they're going to buy it or not, they just don't feel worthy. He goes, that's how I know if I'm going to make a sale that day. He's like, that's how I know. And also, too, it's like, for me, there was a long time in my life where I wouldn't feel worthy to even step foot in a designer store. Like, just no feet in a designer store because I did not feel worthy. So for you right now, and this can be a little bit of homework for you, it doesn't matter what your vice is. It doesn't matter if it's a new car, a new home, a new handbag, new shoes, new dress. Doesn't matter. Whatever your vice is, right? Get behind it. And I want you to go into the store and I want you to get behind feeling the thing. Going in there, picking it up, holding it. If they offer you a drink of water, say yes. Or if they offer you an orange juice, say yes. If you're going to go look at the car, if they offer you a test drive, say yes. Do the things, energetically get behind it being yours, because when you're holding the thing, when you're embodying it, imagining that it's yours, trying it on, driving it, stepping into the closet, whatever it is, that's when you become an energetic match to receive the thing. Because everything you want is out there circling around you energetically. It's all there. It's all available to you. But you have to match up to it, kind of like a radio station, you know, playing music in your car. It's got to be a match for it to play. You have to match up to it in order to receive it. So the moment you match up to it, it will come into your 3D reality. Whenever it's meant to, time's irrelevant. Whenever it's meant to come in, it will come in. Your job is you have to become a match for it. So step into the store, become a match, feel the things. And I promise you, before you know it, the more that you do this, you're inch by inch saying, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. I'm worthy to hold the bag. I'm worthy to try on the shoes. I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. Before you know it, that thing will be yours because you declared you're worthy for it and you become an energetic match to it.
Oh my goodness. I have an intuitive feeling that someone's going to do what you just said because they heard this, and we're going to get a message. So if this is you, you're going to go do the thing, whether it's the test drive, walking into the store. I feel like it's going to be an emotional affair. I feel like whoever this is, I just have this intuitive feeling like someone is going to really feel this deep in their bones. They're going to get emotional, and this is going to be such a powerful, incredibly like expansive experience for someone. So I'm really excited. Whoever you are, I know you're there. I know you're going to do the thing. Just make sure to take photos and send Beck and I a message about your experience, because that is incredible. And I even can't wait to do it. I'm like, let's go test drive the car. Let's go, you know, find the thing. So thank you so much. And I think intuitively, I feel like that is such a beautiful place to wrap this incredible conversation up. And you guys, if you want more of Beck, I'm going to, of course, put it in the show notes. And I would love for you to tell us where to find you as well. And the last thing is, if there's someone, I just want to say, if you're listening to this and this feels really edgy and it feels really triggering, and if there's any part of you that is thinking or feeling uncomfortable, literally physically in your body or mentally, you're just like, these people are talking shit. Like, you know, like they're just, yeah, you know, whatever it is, they don't know what they're talking about. What do you mean? Life is different. Circumstances are different. Well, I'm going through this. I want you to lean into that edge and that trigger, because it's telling you something if you're willing to actually see what that is. And you're here for a reason, and you stayed this long and you've listened to us for a reason. And I want you to lean into that, because if you do not believe that any of this is possible for you, I'm going to tell you it's not. It won't happen. So if you just open yourself up, and what is the worst that can happen if you believe that this could be your reality, that you could have the things that you desire, that you can create the wealth you desire without having to do the work? What's the worst that can happen if you just allow yourself to believe that? what's the worst that can happen if you just open that door and allow that to be a possibility? Whether you have full, belief in it right away, whether you say, oh my God, this is absolutely what's going to happen, cool. Like the certainty will build. You will find the evidence. But if you close yourself off to it, it will never happen. So this is my invitation to you, especially if you're feeling a little squirmy from this incredibly powerful chat that we just had. This is my invitation to you to lean in to that edge. Get more uncomfortable. Let yourself feel that and allow this to really expand you and expand your possibilities for what's possible. So Beck, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to leave us on? And as well, please let us know where to find you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. Just remember, your current situation is not your final destination. That's what I have to leave you with. And I would tell myself this over and over every morning when I woke up, every morning when I'd open my bank account and the money was in there that I was trying to manifest, or I was driving around my beat up car because my other car got repossessed. Like every morning, I'm like, your current situation is not your final destination. I would say it over and over and over and believe it. And within it's been like 4 years. It's been the quickest, I swear I've blinked and it's just, I'm here, but it really hasn't. It's been, a growth and evolution, but the shortest time frame I'm here, and it's completely different. My reality is so different. So that's what I have to say. And if you want to follow me on socials, you can. It's Rebecca Jade _. I have loads of free resources in my bio. There's a free money masterclass. So there's nothing, it's free, goes for about 40 minutes, and it will literally teach you how to remove your money blockages so that you can start receiving money today.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You are such a gift to this beautiful world of ours, my friend. I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so honored. I'm so honored to have seen this transformation and to see the journey and the impact that you're making. And if anything, I could feel your heart in this entire conversation. And I hope that people feel that, through your social media, through everything that you offer, through your coaching and mentorship. I hope that people can feel your heart, because this is where impact happens. It's when you deeply care about it in your heart. It's not talking about money for the sake of money. It's I really want to empower women. You really want to empower women, especially ones who may have found themselves in situations similar to yours or in their own form of rock bottom, and really help them to empower themselves to keep going, to make it out, to create a life that they actually love and that feels really fulfilling for them. And that's the essence of Like You Mean It, the podcast. It's to live like you mean it. And this episode is just really all about, make that money and bring, welcome that money in like you mean it, be wealthy like you mean it. And at the core of it all, it's loving yourself. Love yourself like you mean it. So thank you so much, Beck. I love you very much. And I'm so excited for the ripples of impact that will come just from our conversation today.
Definitely.
Yay. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you feel called and if you feel aligned, please share this on your social media and tag me at Beck Hibbard, because I love to reshare all of the tags. And if you really feel called to it, and I would honestly really appreciate this if you could leave a 5-star review on whatever platform that you're listening to this episode on.